Cardi, Beyoncé, SZA, all y'all stop using that pain to make it okay to say some bull on your record.
Back in 2018, Jay Holiday made what might have been the biggest mistake of his career when he decided to jump on Instagram and throw shade at Beyoncé. He didn't just critique her work, he launched into a bitter rant claiming that women like Beyoncé, SZA, and Cardi B were being rewarded at the Grammys not because of talent, but because they leaned into their personal struggles. He framed it like some gender war, whining that men had to work 10 times harder to be recognized. The irony? None of the women he attacked had even won that night, just like him, they were only nominees. And in case anyone forgot, Jay Holiday has never won a Grammy. Not one.
So apparently, man, the black men still losing to the women. I get it. No disrespect. I was raised by a woman. I have 2 older sisters, man. I have absolute all respect for black women. But with that being said, understand this, man. Black men, African American men, men from the hood, we go through everything to make sure that who we care about are taken care of. We don't swing our around. We don't do all this to be seen. I could be that over here up. I know a whole bunch of little that sing that I could call their the out, but I don't. And understand this. I got daughters, man. Cardi, Beyoncé, SZA, all y'all motherfuckers. Stop using that pain to make it okay to say some on your record and get nominated for a Grammy.
His frustration didn't seem to come out of nowhere though. People pointed out that he had a long-standing grudge going back to 2008, when his debut album Back of My Lack lost out to Mary J. Blige's Growing Pains for Best Contemporary R&B Album. That loss clearly bruised his ego, and he even tweeted about it back then, accusing the Grammys of favoring pain over actual talent. Mary didn't even respond, but Jay Holiday held onto that bitterness and let it bubble over nearly a decade later, with Beyoncé, of all people, becoming his new target. But see, coming for Beyoncé isn't like coming for just anyone. She might not clap back publicly, but behind the scenes? She doesn't play. Word started circulating that she didn't just brush off Jay Holiday's comments. Instead, she allegedly made a few quiet calls, and one of them may have been to Diddy. According to gossip from multiple corners of the industry, Beyoncé had no intention of going back and forth with Jay Holiday online. Instead, she allegedly leaned on her connections to make sure he paid for the disrespect in silence. Insiders say Diddy stepped in and did the dirty work. Jay Holiday's career quickly nosedived. No more press, no more performances, no more label support. It was like he vanished overnight. Some say he tried to apologize behind closed doors, but the door had already been slammed shut. Allegedly, he was forced to go through Diddy to even attempt to get back in the industry's good graces. That's where things get even messier. There are wild stories claiming Diddy didn't just make him apologize, he allegedly humiliated him, forcing him into degrading situations that stripped away every ounce of ego he had left. The whispers talk about so-called freak-offs where Jay Holiday wasn't exactly in control of the narrative anymore, and where Diddy's dominance was more than just symbolic. If true, it wasn't just an apology, it was a power play, a message, and a punishment all rolled into one. The deeper people dug into the story, the more it started to make sense. This wouldn't be the first time Diddy carried out someone else's will. Remember that infamous "making the band" moment where he made aspiring artists walk for hours across New York to fetch a cheesecake? Years later, one of the former contestants, Freddie P., revealed that the whole stunt wasn't even Diddy's idea. Allegedly, Beyoncé was the one who told him to make the boys walk instead of driving, just to see how far they'd go for a chance at fame. That moment, once played for laughs, suddenly looked a lot darker in hindsight. If Beyoncé was capable of influencing a moment like that back then, it's not hard to believe she could make a few phone calls in 2018 to send a message to Jay Holiday. And with Diddy's influence and reputation for doing what needs to be done behind the scenes, it seems like Jay never stood a chance. Whether you believe the wildest parts of the story or not, one thing's clear: after his rant about Beyoncé, his career took a nosedive he's never recovered from. He went from performing on national stages to disappearing from the spotlight entirely. Some people still debate whether Beyoncé really had anything to do with it, or if Jay Holiday's downfall was simply the result of his own ego and poor timing. But if these behind-the-scenes whispers are true, it wasn't just a PR scandal, it was a calculated takedown. And once Diddy got involved, the game was over. People barely blinked when Jay Holiday went on his rant. Instead of calling him out, a lot of folks laughed it off, saying he was just trying to get his name back in the spotlight, that maybe this was his strategy to push his music, because the industry isn't for the weak. But years later, a deeper, messier truth surfaced. Freddie P from Making the Band dropped a bombshell in an interview. The infamous cheesecake mission wasn't just a random stunt. The cheesecake wasn't even for Diddy, it was for Beyoncé. Yep, according to Freddie, Beyoncé told Diddy she wanted cheesecake, and instead of handling it discreetly like any normal celebrity would, she allegedly let Diddy make a spectacle out of it. He sent the boys on an hours-long walk across New York City to get a slice of cheesecake, just to please her and make good TV at their expense. It wasn't just a power trip, it was calculated humiliation.
Okay, fun fact a lot of people don't know. That cheesecake we went and got was for Beyoncé. She was upstairs the whole time. What we was talking about again? Hold on. Yeah, that's a fun fact people don't know. People like, y'all walked and got a cheesecake. It was for Beyoncé. I'm the type of nigga. I listen to everything you say as if it's a contract. So if you say, walk to the store, or walk to get me some cheesecake, I'll walk to get you some cheesecake, but I'm not walking back. And that's just what me and Darlon did. And they like, why y'all, you know, they hot. Like, y'all cheating. And we like, he told us to walk. He didn't tell us to walk back. So we already in the hotel like 3 hours before they got there. When they said they was coming, we went and met him in front of the building. And you know the first thing that nigga said out of his mouth? He said, we got the cheesecake. He was like, I don't want that shit. Take that shit upstairs for Beyonce. Then he said, they was like, yeah, man, we want to tell you, Fred and Darlon, they ain't walk back. You know, trying to be on some snitching shit. He's like, I ain't tell you niggas to walk back.
And the Beyoncé Diddy connection gets even more complicated. A video of DaBaby made waves not long ago, where he talked about a private party at Diddy's house. According to him, Diddy kicked everyone out of a room so that only he, Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and DaBaby remained. What happened next? Beyoncé, according to DaBaby, introduced herself, started chatting with him, and was being real friendly, some might say too friendly. Jaguar Wright later added fuel to the fire, claiming this was no innocent encounter, it was what she called a freak-off, where Beyoncé was allegedly trying to seduce DaBaby. She suggested Jay-Z, who's getting older, might not be keeping up behind closed doors, and Beyoncé was looking elsewhere to fill that gap.
I was at a party at Diddy crib in LA. This was the beginning of 2020. You know what I mean? Diddy had put everybody else out the crib, like the influx of people, he had put them out. But he had took a liking to me in particular around the time, man. It was really, you know what I mean, like putting his arm around me.
Right.
So he had put majority of the people out, but he allowed me to stay in there. Me and, you know, maybe about 15 others, you know.
Right.
Jay-Z and Beyonce being, you know, two of the other 15 people in the room. So that'll just put into perspective of the type of company I was in at the moment, you know. And she came over and introduced herself to me like as if she had to.
Right.
Beyonce, cut it out. But I'm a big fan of your work, you know what I'm saying? Whoop the whoop, and that was just dope. That was dope as hell to me, man. That was dope. That was.
What he is a broke down Mandingo fighter still working on behalf of the NFL. That's what he is. Period. You want to know what else I also find funny? That he did that interview with the DaBaby person who sat there and told him about when he met Beyoncé. Y'all remember that? That happened on Shay Shack. And he talked about how he was at the Diddy party at Diddy's house. And how after, you know, the festivities were winding down and it was getting later into the middle of the night, approaching 3 a.m., Diddy got rid of almost everybody, but he let DaBaby stay behind with him and his close friends. And then he talked about how Beyonce was there and Jay-Z was there. Not at their house, at Diddy's house. and how Beyonce presented herself to him. And she didn't have to do that because he knew who she was and he couldn't believe she was talking to him. But she approached him, kind of like how she approached that old friend of his when he said that he was at the party and the little people was there and she asked him, "Isn't this sexy?" Ain't gonna sell. I wish you had the common sense that animals do when they're caught. They just surrender. But no, y'all gonna fight it to the very end. Y'all gonna bring this broke down old NFL bum who apparently will do anything with his genitals to help cover or create validity where there is none with the weirdos. With his little orange purse. Screwing people's kids. Screwing kids young enough to be his grandchildren. Shame on you. You a dirty old man. Period.
All of this paints a picture of Beyoncé and Diddy being way more involved behind the scenes than people ever assumed. And looking back, maybe Jay Holiday's biggest mistake wasn't what he said, but who he said it about. Coming for Beyoncé, even once, seems to have sealed his fate. Since then, his music career has flatlined. Just like others who tried to step to her, it's as if the door slammed shut and never opened again. Online, people had strong reactions. One person wrote, "Every time Beyoncé wins an award, I wonder what she had to do for it. It's giving mafia energy." Another said, "People don't realize Diddy introduced her to Jay. Beyoncé and Diddy go way back." So what do you think? Did Jay Holiday deserve what came to him for speaking on Beyoncé? Or are these power moves behind the scenes just too far? Let me know your thoughts, and if you want more tea like this, go ahead and check out the next wild story.